Hi everybody, thanks for coming to the channel. Behind me is my 2016 YZ250, and I thought today was a good day to get this bike set up for spring riding. I'm not actually going to be using this as a motocross bike, but more just as like a weekend warrior, trail riding, enduro bike. So I've got a couple little upgrades to make my life easier with the bike for those purposes. Let's check it out. So yeah, here it is, 2016 YZ250 two-stroke. This is actually my first YZ250. In my other videos, you've seen me riding around on my 125 and also on my KX250 four-stroke. And that the KX250 is my primary motocross bike, which is something I'm learning how to do. But this 250, this is going to be reserved just for weekend warrior use. I kind of want to turn it into an enduro bike, and yes, I realize it's not really perfectly set up for that in terms of the gearing, but for my style of riding, I think it's just going to be just fine. So I've got a couple little add-ons here to make things a bit more convenient for me. Like I got a fast weight kickstand. I put these on a couple of my other bikes. They install very easily and they're very solid. I've had no issues with them. Of course, to make the bike legal, I got to get the spark arrested silencer on the back end of it. And I decided to go with an 18-inch rear wheel. That's going to give me a little bit more rubber around the rim, kind of dampen the blows, make it a little bit better for the rocks and roots that I'm probably going to be rolling over on this thing. And I'm going to try this. This is the Lex Duraflow pipe. It's a little bit heavier gauge steel than the stock pipe. So yes, it's going to weigh a little bit more than the stock pipe, but I think it's going to stand up against the dents and dings just a bit better. And look at that finish. It's like a mirror. That's going to look really good on the bike. As you could tell, I picked up this bike used, but it's in very good condition, very solid. The rear tire is almost new, just a little bit of rounding here, but it is going to be replaced with the 18-inch rear and the new Tusk MXT35 tires anyways. So we're going to do a little rim and tire swap today. We're going to go ahead and put the new pipe and muffler on, as well as the kickstand. It'll actually go on the other side, but that'll be our little project for today. So let's get started. I think the first thing I'm going to do here is swap out this rear tire, but before I do that, let's take a look, compare these two tires. So I've got a Geomax, a Dunlop Geomax. What is this? It's an MX14 tire. It's a 110 by 90 by 19. Pretty good condition, and of course it's on a 19-inch rim here. And we're comparing that to the Tusk MXT35 tire, and the size is a 110 by 100 by 18. It may be a little hard to tell on the camera because lenses distort things, but the Tusk MX tire is just, it appears to be a little bit wider from lug to lug compared to the Geomax. Of course, these are entirely different tires for different purposes, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to compare them, but people are always interested in how the sizes compare, so that's what this is all about right now. Now again, this is an 18-inch rim. 18-inch rims, in my opinion, are a bit better for enduro riding. You're dealing with rocks and tree roots, and having a little bit of extra rubber between the rim and the ground helps to reduce the likelihood of flats. Now, of course, it is going to be a little bit heavier than running the 19-inch rim setup, but that's okay. Yeah, so you might be wondering why I chose to go with the YZ250. I mean, I know the newer KTM two-strokes, they're a lot more refined, they're lighter, they got more usable power, they don't vibrate your arms off like the 250, but you know what? You could pick up one of these YZ250s for less than like half the cost of a newer KTM. And to be perfectly honest, I just don't really like the color orange on a dirt bike. When I first got back into dirt biking, I was like 43 at the time. I'm 45 now, so I've only been riding a little bit here. I was all about four strokes. I bought a 2016 KX250 and a few four-stroke trail bikes for my boys. They were all easy to learn on. The trail bikes were built like tanks, very reliable, simple air-cooled engines. My 250, my KX250, was a bit more high maintenance though. At the 100-hour mark, I had to put a new piston in it, a new valve train in the top end. This cost like 600 bucks or so, and that was with me doing the labor. It would have been more if I had a shop do it, but it was a good learning experience. It's not really something I want to do every summer. It's, you know, a pretty time-consuming job, and that's part of what got me into two-strokes. Just the engine seemed a lot simpler, a lot more reliable. The maintenance was less expensive, and that was all appealing to me. There's really like not that many moving parts in a two-stroke engine. Like every 30 to 50 hours, you might need to replace a piston, but even that's a relatively simple project and costs like maybe 200 bucks or so. It's really not a lot compared to the costs of a four-stroke motocross bike. But there's other things too. I really like how the two-stroke delivers power. It's really a lot of fun. If you've ridden one, you know what I mean. If you haven't, the best analogy I could give is that a four-stroke it's kind of like a naturally aspirated V8 muscle car with a lot of torque all through the power band. Whereas the two-stroke, it's kind of like a turbocharged Porsche. The power comes on quick at high RPMs, making the bike very spirited. And the sound of a two-stroke too is, like, in my opinion, it's the sound of a true motocross bike. Four-strokes sound kind of like a deep, mellow fart. Two-strokes, they just sound fast. They're high revving, they're buzzy. It's just a really unique sound, and some people, I don't know, might not like it, but I do. Two-strokes always sound like they're going fast even when they're not. Now, the YZ250, it's not loaded with state-of-the-art technology, but you know what? I don't care. It's not really what I want. I wanted a bike that is more mechanical than electrical. I like the kickstart. I like the carburetor. I like the cable brakes and clutch. I like working on this stuff. It's just, everything's so easy about it. Yeah, I know the four-stroke motocross bikes have an advantage over two-strokes in pro motocross, but you know what? Unless you're a pro, it doesn't matter. At any local track, the fastest person around the track is going to be the rider with the best riding skills. And like I said earlier, I got into dirt biking at the age of 43. So realistically, I'm never going to be pushing the limits of either a four-stroke or a two-stroke motocross bike. My skills, or lack thereof, that's going to be my limiting factor for many years to come, not the fact that I'm on a two-stroke. So here you see me swapping out these wheels and tires. You know, I gotta tell you, it took me a long time to decide whether I wanted to stick with the 19-inch rear or go with the 18. Aside from the cost of the new wheels and tires, I wasn't sure if I was going to like the look of the smaller rim and the taller tire. I mean, I know you should go with what works, not what looks cool, but let's face it, we want our bikes to look cool too. Now again, I mean, this is going to be used for trail riding and enduro riding, mainly at the local off-road parks. And the terrain there, well, it's like hard-packed dirt, there's sand, rocky trails, there's obstacles made of concrete blocks, logs, tires. So because of all that, like in the end, I just decided to go with the 18-inch rear. It seems to be the popular choice among enduro riders, and that was my goal with this bike. If I wanted a motocross bike, I could always ride my KX. Or I suppose if I really wanted to, I could just put the 19-inch wheel back on this one. But once I had the tire mounted up on the 8-inch rim, I was a bit relieved. It really doesn't look that much different from the 19-inch combination. I was a bit worried that the 18-inch rim would look small and the fatter tire would look chunky, old, and slow, but honestly, it's such a small difference, it looks fine. Now, if you're swapping wheels and tires on your YZ250, you should know that they did change the size of the front rotor in 2017. So the 2016s, the earlier ones, they had a 250 millimeter rotor, and then in 2017 they enlarged it to 270 millimeters. I think the brake caliper bracket is different as well for the 2017 and later bikes. At some point in this video, you'll see me swapping the brake rotors on the front wheels for this reason. A new wheel assembly, they were OEM replacements, I think for a 2021 YZ250X, and those came with the larger rotors, which won't fit in my 2016 brake calipers. So really no problem. I just had to swap the 2016 brake rotors from my existing rims, and they bolt right onto the newer wheels and hubs. And by the way, the eagle-eyed viewers out there, you might have noticed that my 2016 YZ250 here doesn't have the original wheels. In 2016, it came with black wheels, black anodized wheels, I think, or painted wheels, not really sure. The blue Excel Tagasagos, they came on bikes from the factory, I think started in 2018 maybe. But the previous owner had swapped them out, and I like the blue anodized look anyways, so that was a plus. Right here we're looking at the installation of the pipe and soon the silencer. I went with this Lex Duraflow pipe. It's made of heavier gauge steel, which hopefully will dent less easily than the thinner stock pipe. I'm not expecting any performance gain over the stock pipe, which honestly the stock pipe's quite good. And, you know, to be perfectly honest, I got this pipe for 2 reasons. I like that it's thicker steel, but I also like the bling factor. I think it's just really gonna look great on the bike. Now the places I ride require a spark arrested silencer, and they do check. So I decided to go with this FMF Turbine Core 2. I have these on some of my other bikes like my YZ125, my KX100, and they're well built. They look good, and I've never really had a problem with them breaking on any of the minor crashes I've had. So I'm going to stick with what works. Now the Lex pipe and the FMF silencer, they bolted up with no problems. Everything lined up nicely, no issues. Well, I mean, just this one here. While working on the bike, I just happened to notice that a chunk of styrofoam packing had gotten wedged into the end of the pipe. So I was able to dig it out with this little pick here. But from now on, I'll always check my pipes and silencers for rogue packing material. Maybe it would just have blown out the tailpipe when the bike got started. Who knows? Maybe it would have melted and created some sort of ungodly stink. I don't know, but just best to get it out. All right, so I don't know, what else could I say about the YZ250? Is it a good beginner bike? No, I don't think it is. Really, if you're the first time rider, you should get something like a trail bike with the basic air-cooled 4-stroke engine. They'll be plenty fast and provide a lot of fun for a good long time. Really, like, maybe after you've mastered all the controls and once you feel like you're maxing out the capabilities of a trail bike, you could consider something like a YZ250. But if you make that jump from a trail bike to a YZ250, just take it easy. Power comes on very differently from that of a trail bike. This is a very powerful bike. Your 2-stroke 250s and your 4-stroke 450s are basically the most powerful motocross bikes out there right now. So, you know, you gotta take it easy. You gotta know what you're doing. Otherwise, you're gonna get yourself hurt. All right, so here's the really last part of the project. I'm working on the fast weight kickstand. Now, these things are a bit pricey. They're like almost 200 bucks, but there really isn't anything better on the market, at least in my opinion. And I don't, some people, they don't like kickstands, but I just want it because it's practical. I mean, a kickstand really makes riding a lot more enjoyable, especially if you're riding with others and making stops along the way. The off-road parks that I ride, there's really not a lot of trees, so there's really nothing to prop your bike up against. And if you lay your bike down, you know, a carbureted bike, gas will start pouring out the overflow of the carbs. So you really got to have a kickstand if you're planning to make stops while you're out riding. If you're into just motocross racing, it really doesn't matter because you're not supposed to stop on the motocross track. There's really no reason to have a kickstand. Some people think it, you know, it could flip down and hang up other riders or, you know, create crashes. I don't really know how that would happen with one of these fast weight kickstands, but, you know, like I said, if you're into motocross riding, you really don't need to have a kickstand because you're not going to be stopping. Well, that's, I think, just about it. You know, these projects that you saw here, they're all pretty simple. Everything just bolts into place. If you could turn a wrench, you could do these projects. Now, I did mount the tires myself, and that could be a bit tricky, but there's plenty of videos on YouTube that will walk you through that process. All right, I guess that's it. Let's just take a look at the bike. I think it looks pretty sharp. Well, I think that's a wrap. If you enjoy dirt bike videos, be sure to check out all my other videos on my channel. Lots of cool stuff here. Thanks for watching, everyone.